As everyone's seated, my name is John and I'm an alcoholic. Thank you for being here this afternoon to mourn and mark the loss of dear Sandy and to celebrate her life and to support Greg and her family and his during this tender time of grief. Before we get started, would you join me in the Serenity Prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm really honored to be here and thank Greg for asking me to help. And thank you to so many others who have stepped up to bring this together to honor Sandy good. And to be together, to connect during this time of grief and loss. There's a few logistical things. I hope you all found the restrooms back there through those double doors, and they'll be on your left. Like I said, the refreshments and stuff are for the reception. There will be, after I finish welcoming, Linda will come up to read the scripture, and then family members will come up, and there's 6, and Greg will be the last one. And then after Greg shares, I will remind the audience here that we'll have an open mic set up down here. I want to thank Simon, our sound guy, for helping us out here and being here today. And then after the open mic, I'll facilitate that, and when that comes to a logical close, I will then, we'll wait and we'll watch the slideshow that's been put together that I know you all want to watch and be present with, of our dear Sandy and the music that she enjoyed and memories of a great life. So in Ecclesiastes, the wisdom literature of the Old Testament, it says, do everything, turn, and everything there is a season and a purpose under heaven. And I want to add on earth, right here, right now. A time to laugh and a time to weep. A time to grieve and a time to mourn. A time to throw stones, a time to gather them together. And this is that time as we gather here together. And I'm so glad that you're here. Someone was commenting to me earlier that you can feel the love here. And I think of the Greek word which starts with the Sermon on the Mount. You probably heard it, happy are they, and then you hear Beatitudes. Well, that Greek word, makarios, can be translated also blessed or blessed or privileged. And I just want to say, we are privileged to be here to help you mourn because you will be comforted, as we all will. We're all privileged to be here. And with that, I'm going to ask Linda to come up and read from Proverbs.
Can you hear me? No. What? Can you hear me? Okay, I'll speak into it. Hi, everybody. I'm Linda, an alcoholic. I don't do well in high heels if you saw me going up the steps. And I didn't tell Greg, but I have a fear of public speaking, but I'm going to do my best. Proverbs 16. The preparation of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. The Lord hath made all good things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Through hands joined in hand, he shall not be unpunished. By mercy and truth and equity is purged, and by the fear of the Lord men depart from evil. When a man's way pleases the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Better is a little righteousness than great revenues without right. A just weight and balance are the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are his work. How much better it is to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather than be chosen than silver. The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth the soul. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. He that handleth a matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it, but the instructions of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and he addeth learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. He that is slow in anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he as taketh a city. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. Thank you.
Born to Stephen and Melody Gerlach in Pennsylvania, Sandi and her twin brother Stephen moved to Southern California in the late 50s, living in Flint Ridge and La Crescenta. Her father passed in an automobile accident in the early 60s, leaving the kids and their mom and several stepfathers. Her half-sister Cheryl would be born during this period. At one point in her young life, Sandi was actually a model for Sears. She and her mother remained quite the fashionistas during their lives. Due to an abusive home life, she set out on her own, working and finishing up her high school studies at Hoover High in Glendale, California, sometimes working 2 jobs simultaneously. It must be noted that Sandi and her mother reconciled until Melody's death in the late 70s. The 70s saw Sandi working at the Rock Corporation in Van Nuys, a bar naturally, where many well-known artists initially got their start. The fast-paced rock and roll life led to Sandi meeting her first husband, Rick Altschuler, drummer for the sign band Rock Kicks. When they went on tour, Van Halen was their opening act. How about that? Sandi and Rick lived this hazy, star-studded life, at one point living in Laurel Canyon in a 5-story house where the party never ended. Can you imagine? Rick and Sandi went on to own sound studios and did quite well for themselves until their divorce, sometime after their birth of their son, Robbie, in September of 1980. It was around this time that Sandi started her career in the Condominium Association, HOA, management industry, a career she excelled to until her retirement in 2014. Co-parenting Robbie in Santa Clarita, Sandi and Rick maintained a good relationship in the best interest of their son until Rick's passing in August of 2004. God rest his soul. Sandi's long-standing addictive lifestyle took a turn for the worse when a calamitous traffic accident / felony DUI landed her in jail and prison in 1993. As an alternative to prison, her court advocate, Jay Goldstein, one of Sandi's many heroes, convinced the judge to sentence her to Casa de las Amigas treatment facility in Pasadena. A grateful Sandi completely embraced her newfound sobriety, eventually making complete restitution for the damage she had done. In July 1994, 2 weeks before her first AA anniversary, Sandi met Greg Schmutzer at the Friday night Living Well and Sober speaker meeting at Casa. Sandi and Greg dated for 2 years before marrying on May 17, 1997, and have lived a rich and full sober life together. Living a life centered around living the principles embodied in this program of recovery, Sandi loved Alcoholics Anonymous and kept coming back regularly until just before her peaceful passing. Sandi is survived by her beloved family, Robbie and Melissa, grandchildren Richie, Elora, and Marcus and Greg, the extended Schmutzer, Albrent, Altschuler families, and her estranged brother and stepsister. Sandi has been and will continue to be a shining example of unconditional love, beauty, strength, and integrity, a lesson for us all in the humble life well lived, beautifully impacting the hundreds of people whose lives she divinely enriched. And I believe the family members will start coming up to speak. Kathy M. will be the first.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy. I'm an alcoholic. And Sandi would love this. She would absolutely love this. Good people, good memories, and a whole lot of love in one place. What a blessing for such a beautiful day to celebrate our Sandi. So, Sandi and Greg were the first couple that Tom and I made friends with when we moved here. We had an instant connection with them. Greg was very spiritual, much like Tom. I always knew that Sandi had her relationship with God. But when she got sick, I saw it with my own eyes. A beautiful woman that was full of grace and gratitude for the life that she lived. For me, Sandi was a great example of God's grace. The way she embraced all of her life was truly something that I aspired to have, that same relationship with God that she had. She would tell you that her God was in her heart. She always said, "He's in my heart." One of the ways that she showed me this was with everything that she was going through. Every single Monday, she texted me sometime during the day to find out if she was going to be saving Linda and I a seat at the Bridge to Shore group. And ALS did not stop this woman and her love for AA. That so touched my heart. She no longer could stand up for this meeting, but you know what? She suited up and she showed up every time they were in town. Her actions spoke to me that touched my heart because she just kept doing what she had done when she was healthy. With that, I would like to end with a special poem. It's called "She Is Gone." You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back. Or you can do what she would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Sandi Schmutzer. I'm Sandy and Greg's nephew. Greg asked me to speak here today. I said, of course, and I started thinking about the things that I would say here today. I don't have a whole lot of vivid memories of the first time or times where I met Aunt Sandy, so I found myself thinking about the times before her. I do have one vivid memory, and that's when my Uncle Greg and I were hanging out together and we were driving somewhere. I remember asking him, Uncle Greg, why do you smoke cigarettes? And his response to me was that he was unhappy. And this made sense to me because just previously, my grandma Betty, my Uncle Greg, and my dad's mother had passed. So that made sense. I bring up this anecdote because the time I do remember meeting Sandy and seeing Uncle Greg, I remember thinking to myself, Uncle Greg's not sad anymore. I do, as the years went by, our interactions remained sporadic, but I do remember the wedding. Everybody had a great time, and if you talk to Uncle Greg, he'll tell you I had a really good time there. The one thing that you all know, but the one thing that just stands out to me the most about Sandy is the hugs. Those hugs, they were long and they were deliberate, and you really felt the love. When she would pull back, she would look into your soul, and you felt missed and you felt loved. And she was one of the first people, other than my parents, that I felt that from. So that's one thing I do remember from her. Like I said, though, our encounters, they were off and on. But then, as God would have it, he gave Aunt Sandy a very critical role in my life. It was after my 4th deployment, I was coming home, and I came home a week early. It was unplanned. And this freed me up to attend Uncle Greg's 50th birthday. Now, I wasn't looking for love that night, because after all, it was a 50-year-old biker's birthday in Tahunga, California. So for a young kid like myself at the time, it wasn't exactly Cupid's den. But it turns out my now wife, Elizabeth, was friends with Sandy, and she had invited her to the party. So after a few months, I decided to marry this woman. And the first person who came to my mind to help me pick out the ring was Aunt Sandy. Not my mother, not my late stepmother. It was Aunt Sandy. And she went with me, and we picked it out, and that was a very special bond. As fate and Aunt Sandy's friend connection would have it, she played a role in one of the most important decisions in my life. I'm gonna miss the hugs, I'm gonna miss the care and the love that she always had for me and my family. And I'm even gonna miss the random text messages she would send me using voice dictate, and she would not proofread them first, leaving my wife and I to try to translate what she was trying to say. But thinking about it, she was always thinking about us, and she just wanted to let us know. So with that, I'll say thank you, Aunt Sandy, for being a part of my life. Thank you for being really the one responsible for me meeting my best friend, and now I have the 2 wonderful daughters that I have now. But most of all, Aunt Sandy, thank you for making my Uncle Greg not sad anymore. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Mary, I'm an alcoholic. Greg, I'm so honored that you asked me to come up here to talk to everyone, and there's a lot of people, about our Sandy Jane. You knew our special friendship, and you knew that she called me sister. And every time she said it, I felt so loved. How couldn't I? I'd known her for 26 years. I mean, I can't imagine her not being here. You know that Sandy had this childlike heart. She shared it with those that were lucky enough to know her. And I've heard people tonight reference it as this unconditional love, and she did. She just embodied this love. Robbie, Melissa, What you might not know is that every time she had a chance, we were talking about text, she would text me pictures of your kids, and she just loved you guys so much, and she just wanted to share how proud she was, and she was such a proud mom, proud wife, friend, aunt, sister-in-law, and she loved you guys so much. However, I do have to say Sandi was quite tenacious when she believed in something. And she actually called my doctor about a week before Jesse was supposed to be born. And she asked if he could induce me on her birthday so they could share the same birthday. She actually did this. I always thought that was so funny. I love her. I loved her. Sandi would be at the center of any great gathering. We all know that. Yes, she would love this. Kathy, you're right. She has obviously so many people that loved her, and she would make any gathering so much better, so much fun. We all had so many great times together. People over here. My crew. And even today, as we gather here in her honor, she's in the midst of this gathering. She absolutely is. And she lives on in our memories of her and in the legacy that she's created with all of us. So I'm gonna finish with this. One of the last things Sandi said to me, and she looked right through me. I don't know how she knew, but she said, "Don't be afraid. I'm not." And she said it with so much conviction. And I was just, she was so grounded in herself and her faith. She knew I was scared. And this is so Sandi. She was a comforter. She was always thinking about somebody else. She didn't think about herself. Even in her trial, she was unselfish. She was strong. She was a badass warrior. What she believed in, she fought for it. So Sandi, I know you're here, and I just want to say I love you, and I will see you again, sister.
My name's Chris. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Chris. For those that don't know me, I am Greg's older brother. I want to make that clear. I think a testament to a life well lived is when you look at a room like this and you see the people who have come from far and wide, from local and out of state. And unfortunately, I've had to do something similar to this a year ago. My wife passed. And when I was sitting there thinking about how to speak to her about her, the same thoughts came to mind when I was thinking about Sandi. And to get the totality of a person, you can't just look at one person, you can't just talk to one person, but in the shared experiences of everybody in this room, from son, husband, friends, you take that entire experience, you put all that together, you distill it down, and you find who that person is. And in the sharing afterwards, when we can talk about anecdotes, when we can talk about our experiences with Sandi, I think we get a little bit more revealed of who that person is. I knew Sandi as Greg's wife. When I met Sandi, and I knew that Greg was really interested in her, I thought, thank God. Not because he wasn't going to be unhappy, but because somebody was going to keep him in line. Greg and I, we had as much fun out there as we could possibly stand, and I got into the program a little bit before him. And so when he met Sandi and I got to know Sandi, I realized that she didn't take any crap. She would tell you exactly how it was, no matter whether you liked it or not. And I thought, he really needs that. And, from the time that they met and got married till the end, Sandy and Greg were always a part of our life and a part of my kids' lives. And one of the things that I was sitting there thinking, besides the text messages, which were, I would get them and I would go show them my wife and I'd go, what is this? Was if anybody ever had the opportunity to watch a movie or TV with Greg and Sandy, it was an experience. It was like they comment the whole time, and I would look over. We had a lot of good times. Lots of Christmases at Greg and Sandy's house in Tahunga. The number of human beings there far exceeded the capacity of that house to hold. Anybody who was there knows what I'm talking about. I want to close with this. I know that Sandy and my wife, Gigi, are someplace, and my wife is doing the books and organizing things, and Sandy is executing everything that Gigi wants done. And I'm extremely privileged and honored that you asked me to talk. Thank you, brother. I love you.
Wow. Let me do the best I can. This is an amazing turnout. This crowd, I did not expect this many people to be here. Greg kept telling me this place is gonna be packed. This is just amazing. I thought about how I was going to deliver this speech or whatever it is. And I went through so many different variations and what I would talk about, how I would describe her, my relationship with her. It obviously, as some of you know, there was a turning point in it. I figure I can give you guys some perspective of her before you guys met her. My mother, when I was young, she was very loving, she was very caring, she made me feel so protected, a little bit overbearing. I can name a couple baseball games where she would just run onto the field because she thought I was hurt. A little embarrassing, but it was what it was. My parents were divorced when I was around 3 years old, and the only thing I never knew them as together. They had a split relationship where it was 1 week with my dad, 1 week with my mom. My dad moved to Santa Clarita when I was around 9 or 10, and my mom followed him there so that way they could still do the shared custody thing. But not only did she do that, she moved into the same apartment complex. She moved on the other side of the courtyard just so she could be around me more. So I would maybe spend the night at, 1 week at my dad's and 1 week at my mom's. I still got the chance to see her all the time and see him all the time. And which might not have been a good thing for me when I was younger because she would skip work and I would skip school and we would go theater hopping. For the youngers, my kids that don't know what theater hopping is, you would buy one ticket and then you would stay there all day and just theater hop. So, Chris, when you talk about the talking going on in the theater, I lived that from the beginning to a point where there was times where I would move seats that she would keep talking. Not that I was embarrassed by her, but I didn't want to get caught because I knew we weren't supposed to be there doing those kinds of things. She was very, very opinionated when I was younger, and she let everybody know how she felt about any situation. I can name a time where we went camping, and it was like the apartment complex moms and the kids and stuff, and my mom was very upset at one lady because she promised to have a tent for us, and there was no tent. And I don't remember exactly the conversation they were having, but what I do remember was that my mom was so upset, she jumped over the fire and she punched this lady in the face with her left hand. And then kids were breaking him up. It was very, at the time, freaked out a little bit seeing my mom do that. Then you relive it in your head, like, oh, that's awesome. But then you get older and you realize, why maybe she was going a little bit more violent than she probably should have. As I got older, our relationship got a little bit more strained. I felt a little sad in certain ways because I felt like I was kind of maybe the only person in her life sometimes. And then she had a car accident. And the next day was the first day of the rest of her life. It changed everything. Our relationship, I don't think, ever got back to being as close as it was, but for everyone in this room, you have no idea how much you changed her life and you changed mine. It sucks that it took that accident for that to happen, for her to hit bottom. But you guys saved her because she was going down a path that was not going to end well. The person that she became was inspiring. The support from this group that she found was life-changing. The friends that she made because of this group is amazing. And the man that she found because of this group was perfect. I can't express how much it means to me. And I love her and I miss her. I wish I could talk to her again. I wish she could tell me how wrong I am in certain things and how I should be doing things differently, but then yet still believe in me at the same time. It was quite amazing that she could do that. But thank you. And to put some context to this picture behind me, this is my 21st birthday at the Gold Nugget. My dad took me there to meet up with my uncle, my aunt, and my cousins to sit there and drink and gamble. My mom made the drive out there just so she could be there with me to take this picture. And then I ditched her because she couldn't go drinking and gambling. But she knew that was going to happen, but she wanted to just be there for me on my 21st birthday. I will miss her. Thank you.
Wow, that's a tough act to follow, wouldn't you say? Yeah, let's see where this goes, I knew the room would be packed. Right, Sandy? I knew it would be packed. I do know that I found out something today that was really indicative of the community that has put this together. You guys have told me, just why don't you show up? We've got this. And I'm like, really? Because I've heard that alcoholics have control issues, but I'm not sure. So I just said, okay, you know what? That's cool. Let's just, I'm just letting go. And I found out this morning, Jack, I didn't even know this until you mentioned, where are you? Right in front of me. I didn't know that you guys had a party planned for your 10th birthday, and they just decided to cancel it so Jack could help out and be a part of this. And that he's one example of the myriad of people that have put this together. I do want to say, thank you, Jack and Sahara, John, Deborah. I got to mention Mike Bennett, or I'll get in trouble. You and Celeste, Angie and Devin, Linda and Kevin, Patrick, Isaac and Corrine, all my book club brothers and sisters, beloved sponsors, sponsees, and volunteers, our Schmutzer, Schirler, and Albrecht families, fellow travelers, and our Zoom family. I don't know how many screens there are, but I bet there's a lot of them. We have made all the time. We made the time to take this memorial in together, and we are benefiting from it because Sandi brings us closer to each other, and Sandi brings us closer to our Creator, and that's what it's about for me today. I want to tell a little story about Robbie's dad. We got along great, man. Shortly after I married Sandi, Rick says to me, I forget where we were, but he says to me, just a real poignant question. He goes, how come you got the good Sandi and I got the bad Sandi? And I said, okay, loaded question, right? And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, oh, you don't know. And he told me the one story about she got 86'd from a bar on the Sunset Strip because she went out after drinking it to get her keys from the valet, and he wouldn't give them to her, so she dicked him. Now, I'm sitting here fairly newly wed to this woman, and he goes, that's just one story. And I'm like, oh my God. So I remember having dinner with her that night, eating dinner, looking at her face. She's like, what's wrong? Nothing. Oh, man, I mean, here's this stuff, just like Robbie. I had all this stuff going on, and I think, whatever.
Can I have some context to that real quick?
Yeah.
The bar was the Coconut Teaser,
The bar was the Coconut Teaser,
and I ended up playing there.
and Robbie ended up playing there. He's a drummer.
My mom's
And-
picture was on the wall. My dad went and pointed it out to me. This is the bar that your mom got kicked out.
And her picture was still on the wall, 86. Just saying, man, jeez. She was 29 years and 5 months sober at her passing. As a married man, I never had to worry about her recovery. That never happened. I wonder if my wife went out. That did not, She was absolutely steadfast in her recovery. Like Chris was saying, how do you describe a life of 26, almost 27 years, and just, it has been described just by the people that have spoken thus far and then the open mic time, because it does paint a wonderful picture and it allows things to get distilled down into the essence of this woman. And one of the things that was really amazing as her time went on in her recovery, especially when she was afflicted with ALS, was her saintly attitude. At first she would say, honestly, she'd say, I'm glad I got this disease because I guess, I got it instead of somebody else. Maybe somebody else didn't have to get this disease, so I'm glad I got it. And I'm looking at her like, yeah, right? I'm just going, oh my God. And then that morphed into, I don't know if I'm glad I got this disease, but I know I'm strong enough to handle it. And that lady was, straight up, she was strong. And a lot of you guys, I'm looking at many of you people that came out to visit right before she passed, and then the thing that happened about when she passed, remember folks were asking me, she's saying, I'm going on February 15th. Now I talked to her long enough to go, hey, is that negotiable? And she goes, yes, of course it's negotiable. But she did on February 1st. She passed because she was done. She was done. She told me in December. When you have those kind of conversations with somebody in Christmas of 2023, and we both know that she's not going to see Christmas 2024, that's tough. But we got used to it. And one of the reasons that she did want to, because people go, why is she saying February 15th? And I said, because there were so many people that were coming, Tim and Jenny and so many others that were coming and visiting just to say goodbye. That by about the middle of February, she figured, okay, the visitors are gone, now I can go. And she wanted to, and you know what she did? And she passed with a grace and a dignity that, honestly, I was right next to her when she passed, when she breathed her last, and it was like, thank God. that madness of that disease is over. And when I looked at her and watched her pass, I said, thank God. Thank God this is over for you, because now, like my friend Tim was telling me, you know, Sandy wants you to be free. And I said, yeah. And he goes, how free do you think she is right now? Get down. I think I will read one thing, you know. Today is a feast of hope. According to Father Richard Rohr, this is the feast that says God will have the last word and that God's final judgment is resurrection. It's not by mistake that this is the first weekend since Easter. God will turn all that we maim and destroy and hurt and punish into life and beauty. But Sandy's resurrection reveals more than anything else is love is stronger than death. Love is stronger than death. Like Jesus, Sandy walked the way of death with love. And what it becomes is not death, but life. Surprise of surprises. It doesn't fit any logical explanation, yet this is the mystery that nothing dies forever and that all that has died will be reborn in love. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the essence of my wife. Thank you.
See, I just want to say, you know, I'm a part of this wonderful fellowship. Wasn't my idea, but started working, and there's no big pictures in the big book, but there's examples, and I can remember seeing Greg wheel Sandy to our roundup and to some other things, gatherings, AA gatherings, Friday night in PV, and there's no doubt what an example of how a person loves another person, not only for better or for worse, but in sickness and health, and did such a stand-up thing. So I want to honor you and let you know that that love comes back in full measure. So we've set up a microphone down here for anybody that would like, feels so moved that they'd like to tell a Sandy story or say something to Greg or share what's going on with you in this moment. There's a microphone right here. Sorry. And then we'll close when the time seems right.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Anyway, my name is Mark, and I want to publicly commend Sandy and thank Sandy for bringing someone into my life. She brought me a son. And my son-in-law and my daughter raised my 3 grandchildren, and Robbie's the best parent you could ever imagine. He learned that from his mom, how to do things right, and he does it right. And I want to publicly thank you for being my son and a friend. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for showing up. The measure of love. My name is Joy, and I'm glad to be here. Amongst all the love, and I can make my contribution. Remember, I used to go over and read Sandy meditations because she didn't like to read. And one of the last things I said to her is, and she's given me a lot of stuff. And I told her I appreciate that, but the best thing she ever gave me was her friendship. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
My name's Patrick. I'm an alcoholic. Patrick. Thanks, man. I love you, bro. Robbie, right? Wow. You can be so proud of your mom. Like, we go through things like this, and it really puts into perspective my mother and the fragility of life and what we're experiencing, and I just admire you. And I admire you too, and a lot of you guys, on how we're able to walk through this phase of development gracefully. And Sandi especially. So I got these two stories. I've been up here 5 years now. And the first AA meeting I went to, so I came out of a bad breakup. Part of the reason I'm up here, I go to the first meeting and I'm sitting down and I can't take my eyes off this pretty girl. It wasn't your wife, but it was a pretty girl. And you know how it is, man. You're in a new town. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She pulled me aside after the meeting, put her arm around me and said, she's a newcomer, and I want to let you know, I delivered her to her, and she said, I want to let you know how we do things here. So, and of course, how do you think I took that? I tried to take it modestly, but so since then I never reached out to, I never spoke to that girl again. And so the other funny thing is she and I connected on a level that was incredible, artistically, organically. And it's funny too, the messages she would send me messages at the oddest times saying, I love you, I'm thinking about you, and it was just incredible. So she'd come to these meetings, and she knows I like jewelry. I want you guys to know that she's partly responsible for me looking like a rhinestone cowboy. Because she'd come to meetings and she'd open her purse and said, I brought you something. And she would bring me this piece of jewelry. So it's not just me looking like that. She garbed me up. But I actually believe that this is not our home. I believe that we are being prepared for something special. And the way that she impacted me impacts my daughters, the people that I serve, that's impacted her grandchildren. It is the most incredible how God speaks through Sandi. So I am just celebrating. I kind of had a tear, but I swore to her, I celebrate you, and I celebrate her. I celebrate sobriety. God is good. There's so much color today, man. I love it. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Kathy. I'm an alcoholic. Sandi and I had something in common. I have Parkinson's disease. Makes it difficult to move, as well as a bunch of other things involved. But my husband has stood by me, and I always appreciate that. Sandi had always sat next to me on a Thursday night women's meeting. And it's just like saying, we just joined at the hip. We had something in common. And it was a relief. I happen to write poetry. It's something I just do as by way of journaling. And I wrote this poem in remembrance of Sandi. It's called Remembering Sandi. Sandi, Sandi, Sandi. You had 29 years of sobriety. You had an organized mind with a heart so kind. Everything you did had to be meticulous, but you were always gracious. Your childhood left a lot to be desired, but you managed to survive and never tired. When ALS took over your life, you were still a devoted and loving wife. And your AA family did what they could to help you out. They understood. Your acceptance of life's events is admired, and these traits are certainly desired. Sandi, wherever you are in our hearts and never far. Thank you.
My name is Jill, and I'm an alcoholic. I didn't know Sandi very well at all, and I've never met Greg. I think I met you once at a meeting, but I have a real sweet story. I didn't know her hardly at all. I go to Tuesday, Thursday meetings with her, and I've probably only known her for about a year. And it was, she had a couple of sweet, sweet people, Linda and Steve and Laura, that would wheel her in, and I would say hi because I saw her across the way, and she was always very friendly. And And that was it, just hi Sandy, and wondering, ask people what she had. And so then we went to a couple of Soup for the Soul. I think some of you know about those, and Sandy was there, and I never talked to her much. I don't know why, I just hadn't really connected with her, but she's a sweet, sweet soul. And then we went to an ornament party, and the ornament party that I chose, it was just this last Christmas, and the ornament that I chose was a red heart, because I love hearts. And the very next meeting that we were together, and Sandy was there, she gave me a Christmas bag. And I said, gosh, thanks, Sandy. And I didn't understand. And I opened it up, and it's this little thing, and it had a little scripture on it. And then it had a red heart ornament that was one that you could open. It was like a locket. And I got that. She was so thoughtful. And then she also gave me a lucite thing. It's about this big, and it has the Serenity Prayer on it. And it had a little stand. And my husband could tell you, it's sitting on my counter right now. And every day I think of Sandy. And I said, Sandy, we really don't know each other real well. Why did you do this? And she said, because I love you. And I thought, my God, what a sweet woman. All these people have told me what a wonderful woman she is, what a sweet woman, what a great gal she is. And I didn't know. I didn't know her well enough, and I feel bad that I didn't take the time to know her, but I'm so sorry for your loss, but I too believe that this isn't the end. And I know she is, I hate to sound cliche, but in a better place. She's got the arms of the Lord wrapped around her right now, and she's out of pain. So that's a beautiful thing, and this is a testament truly to Sandy. Thank you.
My name is Colin. I'm an alcoholic. Yes, sir. I was thinking about this the other day because this was approaching, and I thought many times about this while she was still here. Every time I would see her, she would greet me. And Greg loves this, I love it, people who have heard it love it. I'm gonna step away from the mic. Hi, precious! Every single time. And if I was having a terrible day, that would warm my heart to a degree that really nothing else could. And I thought multiple times, I want to set that as my ringtone. And I thought about it many times, and I never did it. I wish that at some point I had recorded that so that when I'm having a bad day, I could listen to it and hear her say that, because the only person who's more proud of me than she was is my mom. They are comparable in their ability to motivate and drive me towards something that is bigger and better than what I'm experiencing now. Every time I would see her, she'd say she's proud of me. She'd greet me. She'd say, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm excited. And, now that I have the ball rolling, and I know she's watching. She's watching. She's on the beach with Jesus right now, playing in the sand, kicking the water as the waves roll up. And I can't wait to see her again someday. I can't wait. Yeah.
My name is Anna, and I'm an alcoholic. When I met Sandy, she was still full of life, and I'm so grateful that I saw her that way. When she started getting sick, she had asked me if I would mind coming over a couple days a week and just to help her get dressed. And I said, of course. I think of her all the time because of who she was. But I also can't stop thinking of her because every time I open my closet, there's all the shoes she gave me. She discovered that we were the same size, and she's like, I have something for you today. You know, I would come home with a bag, and Ren would be like, more shoes? You know, don't do that, don't take it from her. And I said, I'm not trying to, but she won't take no for an answer. So I stopped mentioning, oh, that looks pretty, because if I said that. One day I came over and I was not in a good mood. I was kind of annoyed, and she's like, what happened, sweetheart? So I didn't want to complain about Brent. But this day I did. I said, you know, he never lets me drive his car. And I asked him if I could, because I don't know what was going on with my car. I think it was at the shop. And he's like, what do you need it for? No, what do you need it for? I said, well, I have to go see Sandy. Oh, take it, right? I'm like, oh, so because it was you, I could take your kid's car. So just, I don't know, because he won't tell me why, but in the last month, he's letting me take his car every time I ask. And I just wonder, does he remember? Because what Sandy did that day, she sent him a few texts. Letting him know that I was his wife and that was my car too. So anyway, I'm gonna miss her, and Greg, I love you very much, and thank you for letting us be proud of your wife. So thank you.
Hi, everybody again. Wow. I have a story. So Kathy and me, Kathy, wherever you are, and I and Sandy and a girl named Wendy took a trip to Las Vegas. And we ate junk food in the car and on the way up, and we ate junk food on the way back. But what I remembered, we were there for a couple of days. We didn't gamble. We shopped. And we shopped. And we shopped. And she would go in and find something she liked and put it over her arm. I said, don't you want to try that on? She said, no, it'll fit. And I suppose they fit. We all did shopping. But what was funny was we went out to dinner at a really fancy restaurant the last night we were there. We thought, let's splurge. And at the time I was single, and something that was absent, and I will keep this clean. But instead of that, I was eating a lot. So at the dinner, I finished everybody's plate and everybody's dessert that they didn't finish. And then we went back to Wendy's condo, and she had a box of Good and Plenty. And in the evening, I ate the whole box of Plenty. She never let me forget that. Every time, you ate all my Good and Plenty. Oh, I never did get her another box, darn. But anyhow, you know, we just, as everybody has said, what a special woman this was. She was one of the dearest, most generous, kindest souls I have ever met in my life, and was lucky to have as a friend, as we all feel that way. What a lady. And Greg, you know that we're all here for you. Whatever you need, we're here. And it's nice to meet you, and God bless. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sierra. I'm an alcoholic. We met Sandy. Thank you. This is Joey. We met Sandy at the Wednesday night meeting, and there was always a dinner beforehand. And after I had him, we would always have to sit at the end because of his car seat. And Greg and Sandy would always have to sit at the end because of her wheelchair. And so we ended up, the four of us, having like our own separate little private dinner party. And she became such an incredible light in our lives. And Wednesday, was the day that I looked forward to every single week. Not the weekend, it was the middle of the work week, and it was because of Sandy and Greg. And he would get to a point where we would say, like, "Are you ready to see Miss Sandy?" And he would smile, and we would get him ready for dinner. And the first dinner after we found out that she passed, it was so strange because I immediately thought, like, "Oh, there's Greg, like Sandy's gonna be right there." And she wasn't there, but she truly was, because we got to spend that time with Greg and really talk about her, thank you, buddy, really talk about her memory and talk about how her love was filling that room and her love was filling every room. And I just want to say, Greg, that I love you so much. And you are such a light to us, and me and my family love you so much, and we will always love Sandy. And yeah, thank you for letting me share.
I'm Michael, an alcoholic. I remember the day Sandy walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and she was beautiful. So when he says he met her just before her first birthday, I'm not sure what step he was working on. You know, she loved to have parties, and every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, in the valley that they lived in, up in where'd you live? Tahunga. They always had a party for all the newcomers, for the people that didn't have anywhere to go on a holiday. And I remember that. And I've been to a few of them. And every birthday, every natal birthday, every AA birthday, she always celebrated her birthday. She loved parties. Sandy, may you rest in peace, and we all love you.
One more, okay. All right.
Burning desires.
My name's Paulie. I'm an alcoholic. And I did not plan on coming up here, but I was kind of moved by a couple of things people said. And I've known Greg and Sandy since they came to town, and we've done a lot of hanging out together, a lot of dinners. And one of the first people were talking about, Sandy was kind of tenacious, I think was the word. And I can't tell you the number of times she would rub me the wrong way. And I'd be so mad or upset inside. And the next time I see her, she'd be like, "Love bug, come here." And just like you were saying, I know she probably said that to more people than me. But I felt that I was her little bug, right? And she would give me one of those hugs, and she was and they would last forever, right? And she just, like I said, you could not love Sandy, right? She was just such a good person. My wife loved her. We love you guys. Thank you.
My name is Jack. I am an alcoholic. These are some of the entries from the people who are not physically with us, but in spirit and on Zoom. This is from Berlin, Germany, from Magnus and Uta. The news of Sandy's passing made us very sad. Uta, Lilo, Etta, and I remember the wonderful time in 2012 when Sandy and Greg gave us a home and showed us around Los Angeles. Sandy welcomed us with great warmth and hospitality, which we still remember today. Best wishes from Berlin. P.S. Lilo still wears the Dodgers shirt Sandy gave her in 2012. This message is from Dina and Earl in Virginia. We love you, Sandy, and are grateful to be part of your life. She made us both feel so welcome and loved as newcomers to Prescott and AA. She always had a hug and a smile for both of us. Her very last message to Dina was how much she loved and missed her after she moved to Virginia. She is always with us. Her love goes on forever. This message is from Cody, Sandy's nephew. I thought for a long time about what, if anything, I should share today, and I realized that picking a favorite memory shared with an incredible woman, Sandi Schmutzer, was far more difficult task than I realized. Uncle Greg and Aunt Sandy came into my life when I wasn't expecting my family to grow, and while I knew they were special people, I didn't know just how impactful they would be on me in my life. Aunt Sandy, I will always cherish the time I got to spend with you. You took me in and you loved me like I'd been a part of your own family forever. You were there for me in so many ways. You supported me when I was making important life choices and didn't shy away from telling me when I was being foolish. The fact that over the course of your long life you somehow never developed a filter is astounding to me. I will always be grateful for the advice you shared, even when it was as silly as letting me know I could turn off the subtitles when watching a movie in case I wasn't aware. The game Candy Crush will always be a favorite of mine, and I loved how you would randomly come into my room and hand me your iPod and say, can you do this? And I'd do my best to help you pass the level. Seriously, this happened all the time. Aunt Sandy, you are a constant presence of kindness, love, and compassionate support in my life. And the connection we built over the years is one that will live with me for the rest of my life. I guess I'll throw my 2 cents in. This was part of my daily reflection, and there is no coincidence. Don't judge and you won't be judged. Don't condemn and you won't be condemned. Set free and you will be set free. And I judge, I condemn, and I'm not always free. But if there was ever a good example of a woman who left this mortal coil free, it was Sandi Schmutzer. And we were at Oscar's house, one of the first times I had been to a function in Prescott outside of a meeting. And I was whining to my sponsor, Greg, about something. And whining about someone. And Sandy is sitting there, and she tugs on my pants right here. She says, "Baby, be free, just let him go." Thank you, Sandy. I love you.
So before we do our closing prayer, it just seems appropriate. I hope you don't mind. One of the things I've learned is how precious each one of you all are, and we all are. When they told me, keep coming back, we're going to love you till you learn to love yourself. It sounds like Sandy embodied that. And she did it especially for one young man who just shared. So I just thought, before our closing prayer, that we would in unison, to honor her memory, say, "Bye, precious." What do you think? Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Bye, precious! Yes! Yes, yes, yes.